Let me tell you something that the gardening industry does not want you to figure out. You do not have to replant every single year. You do not have to spend every spring at the garden centre loading up your trunk with flowers that are going to die in October and take your money right along with them. And you definitely do not have to spend your weekends babying plants that cannot survive a single mist watering. Here is what changed everything for me. Perennials. Plants that die back in winter and come back on their own every spring. Sometimes bigger, sometimes more beautiful. Always without you doing a single thing to bring them back. Today, I am giving you 9 of them. 9 plants specifically chosen for people who want a real garden, not a second job. And if you are not subscribed to Garden Reality yet, hit that button right now, because this is exactly what this channel is about. Real plants, real results, no fluff. Stay with me, because plant number 6 is the one I get asked about more than anything else I have ever grown. Let's get into it. Plant number 1, bleeding heart. If you have ever walked past someone's garden in spring and done a double take because it looked too beautiful to be real, there is a good chance bleeding heart was involved. This plant produces arching stems lined with small, perfectly heart-shaped flowers that dangle like little pendants. Deep rose pink, soft pink or pure white. The whole effect is almost delicate, almost romantic. And then you find out how tough it actually is. Bleeding heart thrives in shade. Not just tolerates it, actually prefers it. It does beautifully under trees, along north-facing fences, in the spots where most plants either sulk or die. It comes up early in spring, blooms for weeks, and then quietly goes dormant in summer heat, which means you compare it with summer perennials that will fill in that space naturally. 0 pest problems, 0 disease pressure, just effortless spring beauty year after year. Bleeding heart is hardy in zones 3 through 9. It is one of the most reliable shade perennials available, and once it is established, it asks almost nothing from you. Plant number 2, catmint. If you want a plant that looks like you hired a landscape designer, blooms for months, and survives on almost no attention whatsoever, this is it. Catmint forms soft, flowing mounds of grey-green foliage, covered in a cloud of small lavender-blue flowers. It has this relaxed, romantic quality that makes garden borders look intentional and effortless at the same time. It blooms in late spring and early summer. Cut it back by about 1/3 when the first flush fades, and it rebounds and blooms again in late summer. It handles drought. It handles heat. It grows in lean, poor soil and actually performs better when you do not over-fertilize it, which repels deer and rabbits, which in a lot of gardens is worth more than almost any other quality a plant can have. Bees and butterflies cannot get enough of it. And yes, your cat may decide to roll around in it like it personally offends them. This is harmless and honestly one of the more entertaining things a garden can offer. Catmint is hardy in zones 3 through 8, making it one of the most cold-hardy flowering perennials you can grow. Plant number 3, Carl Förster feather reed grass. Most perennials give you a season. This one gives you a year. Carl Förster is an ornamental grass that grows 4 to 6 feet tall in a clean, upright clump that never flops, never sprawls, never becomes a problem. In late spring, feathery green plumes emerge and catch the light beautifully. Through summer, they deepen to gold. By fall, the entire plant transitions to a warm bronze that practically glows in the afternoon sun. And in winter, when everything else has and your garden looks bare, Carl Förster stands. Snow, wind, cold, it holds its structure and its beauty through all of it. One hard cutback in late winter, that is the entire annual maintenance task. If you want height, movement, texture, and genuine 4-season presence in your garden, this is the single most efficient plant on this list to get all of it at once. Carl Förster is hardy in zones 4 through 9, and performs across an enormous range of climates without complaint. Plant number 4, Coreopsis, pure sunshine. Literally the best description I have for this plant. Coreopsis, sometimes called tickseed, produces cheerful button-like flowers in bright yellow, with some varieties offering orange, pink, and bicolor options. And it blooms for an absurdly long season. Some varieties start in late spring and do not stop until frost arrives in fall. That is 5 to 6 months of colour from a single planting. It wants full sun and lean, well-drained soil. Over-fertilizing actually makes it worse, reducing the flower count and making it floppy. Many modern varieties are self-cleaning, meaning old blooms fall off on their own without you needing to deadhead a single one. It is heat-tolerant. It is drought-tolerant. It brings in pollinators constantly through its long bloom season. And it comes back reliably every year without any help from you. Coreopsis is hardy in zones 3 through 9. It is one of the absolute best choices for hot, sunny gardens in the south and Midwest where summer can be brutal and most plants are struggling to survive. We are halfway through, and I want to make sure you stick around because the last 4 plants include one ground cover that will genuinely eliminate your weeding problem, one that blooms so thick in spring it looks like something's out of a magazine, and the one plant, number 6, that strangers stop and ask me about every single time without fail. Keep watching. Plant number 5, Agastache, also called hyssop or hummingbird mint. This one is criminally underused in home gardens, and I cannot figure out why, because it is stunning, incredibly easy, and wildlife absolutely loses its mind over it. Agastache grows in upright clumps with tall flower spikes in deep purple, vibrant orange, hot pink and coral. It has a long bloom season from midsummer into fall, which fills in that awkward late season gap when a lot of spring perennials have finished. The foliage is fragrant, which is a bonus on its own. Hummingbirds visit it constantly. Bees and butterflies swarm it. And deer leave it almost entirely alone because of that aromatic foliage. It wants full sun and excellent drainage. It is extremely drought-tolerant once established and actually thrives in hot, dry conditions that stress most plants. The combination of zero-fuss care, long bloom season, and wildlife activity it creates makes it one of the highest value plants on this entire list. Agastache is generally hardy in zones 5 through 9, with some newer varieties pushing into zone 4. It is one of the best late-season perennials available for hot, sunny gardens. Plant number 6, Russian sage. Here it is, the one I promised you. Russian sage is not a true sage, and it is not actually from Russia. What it is one of the most breathtaking, most effortlessly dramatic plants you can put in a garden. From midsummer through fall, it sends up tall, airy, silver-white stems covered in tiny lavender-blue flowers that seem to shimmer and float in the air. The whole plant has this misty, cloud-like quality. It moves in the breeze. It catches the light. It makes every plant near it look better by contrast. And the care requirements are almost laughable. Full sun, poor to average soil, excellent drainage. That is essentially it. It is drought-tolerant once established, deer-resistant. It handles heat, handles wind, handles neglect almost enthusiastically. Do not fertilize it heavily. Do not coddle it. It performs better when you treat it a little rough. This is the plant people stop at the fence to ask about, every single time. And the answer is always, it is one of the easiest things in the garden. Russian sage is hardy in zones 4 through 9, and it absolutely thrives in the hot, dry conditions of the West and Midwest. Plant number 7, creeping phlox. Let me tell you what this plant does in spring, because you need to be prepared for it. Creeping phlox produces such a thick, dense carpet of small flowers, hot pink, magenta, soft lavender, white, purple, that the foliage underneath almost completely disappears. It cascades over rocks, tumbles over retaining walls, and floods slopes with colour in a way that looks expensive and intentional, and like you absolutely know what you are doing. And the actual effort involved is almost zero. After it blooms, it becomes a tidy evergreen mat of fine needle-like foliage that holds its colour all year, suppresses weeds, prevents erosion on slopes, and requires essentially nothing from you until next spring, when it does the whole show over again. The only maintenance is a light trim after blooming to keep it compact. That is it. That is the entire job description. For rock gardens, slopes, retaining walls, and edges where you need ground-level colour and coverage, nothing on this list competes with creeping phlox for sheer visual impact per hour of work invested. Creeping phlox is hardy in zones 3 through 9 and is particularly spectacular in the northeast where cool spring temperatures extend the bloom season. Plant number 8, Echinacea, coneflower. If there is one perennial that belongs in every single garden, regardless of style, skill level, or climate, it is this one. Coneflowers are tall, daisy-like flowers with a bold raised centre cone and swept-back petals available in purple, pink, white, orange, yellow, and red. They bloom from midsummer into fall. They handle heat, drought, and poor soil without complaint. They attract every pollinator you can think of from first bloom to last. And in fall, here is the thing most people miss. Leave the seed heads standing. Do not cut them back. Songbirds, goldfinches, chickadees, nuthatches will feed on those seeds all through winter. You get beautiful structure in your garden through the cold months, and you turn your yard into a genuine wildlife habitat just by being a little lazy about cleanup. This plant is that rare thing, beautiful, tough, wildlife-friendly, and rewarding in every single season. Coneflower is hardy in zones 3 through 9, one of the most adaptable perennials in existence. Plants, all of them perennials. All of them coming back every year on their own. All of them built for the kind of gardener who has a real life to live and still wants something beautiful outside. Here is how to think about them. For shade, start with bleeding heart. For hot, dry, sunny spots, go with coreopsis, agastache, or Russian sage. For edges and ground coverage, creeping phlox and catmint are your answer. For pollinators and wildlife, coneflower and agastache will bring more life to your yard than almost anything else. And for structure, presence, and the kind of long-term garden investment that just keeps paying off, Carl Förstergras and Baptisia are in a league of their own. You do not need a perfect garden. You do not need a perfect season. You just need to put the right plants in the ground and let them do what they were built to do. Start with 2 or 3 from this list. Get them in the ground this season. Watch them come back next year without you doing a single thing to make it happen. Because that moment, that first spring when your perennials push back up out of the ground on their own, that is when gardening stops feeling like a chore and starts feeling like something genuinely worthwhile. I am glad you are here. If this helped, subscribe to Garden Reality, turn on notifications, and drop a comment below. Tell me which of these 9 you are planting first. I read every single one. Now go get your hands dirty. I will see you in the next one.